In our headlines on this Monday, June 16th, here in South Korea. President Lee Jae-myung is poised to take part in the Group of Seven summit over in Canada this week to address a host of issues including artificial intelligence and clean energy. And an advisory committee has been set up to chart the policy blueprint of the Lee Jae-myung administration over its 5-year term, and members of the body held their first meeting today. Meanwhile, over in the Middle East, Israel and Iran continue to trade fierce fire over Tehran's nuclear weapons ambitions that Israeli authorities assert threaten their security and stability. We start here on the local front as President Lee Jae-myung is headed to Canada to take part in this year's Group of Seven summit. Our top office correspondent Song Yoo-jin covers his agenda.
South Korea's new leader, President Lee Jae-myung, is making his diplomatic debut on the global stage. President Lee begins his 3-day trip to Canada on Monday to attend the Group of Seven summit less than 2 weeks after taking office. First Lady Kim Hae-kyung is accompanying him and will participate in official programs arranged by the host nation.
President Lee will build rapport with world leaders and lay the groundwork for tangible progress on key issues, including trade. In particular, by highlighting the strength of Koreans who overcame martial law and insurrection, and the resilience of our democracy, we expect this summit to elevate South Korea's standing on the global stage.
The president's first stop is Calgary, where he is expected to hold bilateral talks with leaders of non-G7 countries who were invited to the summit along with South Korea. Those invited countries include Australia, Brazil, India, Mexico, South Africa, and Ukraine. The following day, on Tuesday local time, he will participate in the G7 expanded session in Kananaskis, where the focus will be on energy security. Lee is expected to speak twice, laying out Korea's vision for diversifying global energy supply chains and promoting AI-integrated energy innovation. Bilateral meetings are also being arranged with G7 members. Attention is on whether Lee will hold talks with U.S. President Donald Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba at a time when the July deadline for the Trump administration's reciprocal tariffs is approaching, while Seoul and Tokyo mark 60 years of normalized diplomatic ties this Sunday.
Through bilateral talks, we'll have an opportunity to strengthen friendly cooperation with major countries in terms of our national interest and pragmatic diplomacy. We will also make progress in discussing pending issues such as trade.
This year's G7 summit, marking its 50th anniversary, will take place on Monday and Tuesday in Canada. President Lee is expected to conclude his schedule and return to South Korea late on Wednesday. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
A presidential advisory body has been set up to lay the groundwork for the new administration's broad agenda over its 5-year term. Our political correspondent Moon Hae-ryun has details.
A new presidential committee has been launched to chart the policy direction and initiatives of the Lee Jae-myung administration over its 5-year term. Dubbed the State Affairs Planning Committee, the 55-member body held its first session on Monday, where its chairperson Lee Han-ju spoke of the committee's goals.
We'll need to recalculate the financial plans for our pledges, determine their priorities, organize the necessary legislative measures, and draft a 5-year roadmap for their implementation.
Aside from setting policy priorities, a key mission for this committee within its 60-day mandate is to propose a plan for government restructuring, making it more efficient and responsive. The chairperson stressed the need for decentralization of authority, administrative efficiency to support South Korea in becoming a global leader in artificial intelligence, and institutional reform to better address the climate crisis. He also called for comprehensive reforms in areas such as long-term tax and fiscal policy. While short-term priorities will be implemented swiftly, he added, long-term goals like climate action will be pursued through detailed annual plans. The committee, effectively serving as a transitional body, was formed as President Lee assumed office without a formal transition process. Special task forces will address balanced regional development, government restructuring, and tax reform, while 7 subcommittees will oversee policy planning in areas such as the economy, social affairs, governance, and foreign affairs. In the coming days, the committee will receive policy briefings from each ministry as the first step in assessing the current situation. A final report summarizing the committee's work is to be published within 30 days of the end of its mandate. The committee also plans to establish additional channels for public engagement, aiming to incorporate citizen input and broaden participation in shaping national policy. 문혜련, Arirang News.
In other news, the Unification Ministry is looking to discourage the floating of leaflets into North Korea in line with the safety concerns raised by the president. Kim Jong-sil explains.
Seoul's Ministry of Unification says it is now coordinating with other government agencies to curb cross-border leaflet launches. The move follows President Lee Jae-myung's directive over the weekend to prepare a coordinated response, citing safety concerns for residents near the border.
At today's meeting, we plan to discuss a comprehensive government response to the leaflet launches, including both preventative measures and post-incident penalties as directed by the president.
Since South Korea's constitutional court struck down the leaflet ban in 2023, citing freedom of speech, leaflet launches have continued in a legal gray zone. Launches have come from a number of activist groups, including defector-led organizations and, more recently, families of South Korean abductees. The government, seeking to curb the launches, says existing aviation and safety laws can already be used to regulate the activity and that new enforcement guidelines may follow. Asked if that would violate the 2023 court ruling, the Unification Ministry said it would not.
We believe that requesting a stop to the leaflet campaigns, considering the situation on the Korean peninsula and the safety of the public, does not violate the Constitutional Court's decision.
The announcement came the same day families of abductees made a renewed public plea.
We're not asking for their return. We just want to know if they're alive. If the president would meet with and offer comfort to the two mothers featured on these leaflets, I will stop sending them.
The Unification Ministry says abductee issues were previously raised with the North during more than 10 rounds of Red Cross talks. With inter-Korean dialogue stalled, the ministry says it's keeping close contact with families and remains committed to listening. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
The People Power Party elected third-term lawmaker Song Eun-seok as its new floor leader today. Song's priority as floor leader is to address calls for party reform and to resolve internal conflicts amid the impeachment of the former president. Song announced change and renewal are necessary and that a return to the past is fundamentally wrong. Meanwhile, floor leader of the Democratic Party, Kim Byung-gi, was at the Seoul National Cemetery to pay his respects before presiding over his first Supreme Council meeting. Kim then sat down with National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik. In the Middle East, Israel and Iran continue to trade fierce fire over Tehran's nuclear weapons ambitions that Israeli authorities assert threaten their security. Our Iuni has the latest.
Israel and Iran continue to exchange missile strikes as the conflict between the two countries enters its fourth day. Overnight Monday, Israel carried out renewed airstrikes targeting surface-to-surface missile sites in western and central Iran. Multiple large explosions, including at a foreign ministry building, rocked Tehran, with energy infrastructure also hit. Iran launched a new wave of missiles and drones at Israel late on Sunday. The operation involved hundreds of ballistic missiles aimed at homes and infrastructure, Iran's semi-state Mehr News reported. Iran's national news agency confirmed the death of the intelligence chief of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and two other generals in Israeli attacks on Sunday. Tehran's health ministry on the same day said the death toll in Iran has surpassed 200. It also said over 1,000 people had been hospitalized. Authorities in Israel say at least 14 people have been killed since the strikes began. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told Fox News on Sunday that the goal is to eliminate Iran's nuclear and missile threats. He also said that while not the main objective, the attacks could lead to regime change in Iran.
Could certainly be the result because the Iran regime is very weak. I think it's basically left with two things. It's plans to have atomic bombs and ballistic missiles. That's basically what Iran has. They certainly don't have the people 80% of the people would throw these theological thugs out.
During a cabinet meeting also on Sunday, Iran's president warned that his country's response would become more severe if Israeli attacks escalate.
We will give a powerful response to any aggression they may commit.
U.S. President Donald Trump shared his feelings while speaking to reporters, saying it's time for a deal and we'll see what happens, but sometimes they have to fight it out. Meanwhile, U.S. oil prices rose by around 3% on Sunday after Israeli strikes hit oil and gas facilities in Iran. Yunhee, Arirang News.
And in light of the military confrontation between Israel and Iran, the government here is urging its people to cancel or postpone travel to the two places. In fact, over the weekend, Korean authorities raised their travel alert for both Israel and Iran to special travel advisory. Also, this past Sunday, the Foreign Ministry hosted a video conference, that is, to check on safety protocols for Koreans residing in the region. Also, the Director General for Overseas Koreans called on Koreans in Iran to closely heed the guidance of the embassy there. There have been no reports of Korean casualties in the violence-affected areas thus far. Here in capital Seoul on this Monday, the Japanese embassy is hosting a reception today to celebrate 60 years of diplomatic relations between South Korea and Japan. Now, President Lee Jae-myung is not expected to attend the event as he is on his way to Canada today for the Group of Seven summit. Meanwhile, over in Tokyo, the Korean embassy there will host a similar reception on Thursday. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba is expected to partake in the event. During the 50th anniversary of diplomatic ties back in the year 2015, President Park Geun-hye and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe attended the receptions hosted by their respective embassies. Up next, in this week's installment of stories to celebrate 60 years of Seoul-Tokyo ties, my colleague An Sung-jin touches upon the growing presence of Korean flavors in neighboring Japan, as many claim the best way to a person's heart is through the stomach.
Where tradition meets taste. From the vibrant colors of 구절판 to heartwarming soul foods such as 된장찌개, the table is filled with Korean flavors. And alongside are similar Japanese dishes. The two countries, Korea and Japan, have come together through nothing more than food. Yoon Mi-wol and Masayasu Yoshihara, two renowned chefs in the Ginza area of Tokyo, have come together to explore collaboration within the realm of cuisine.
So what we're seeing here is a merge of two cultures, Korean and Japanese, coming together through cuisine. Now, if we take a closer look at what the two chefs are doing, Chef Yoon Mi-wol here is making 된장찌개, while Chef Yoshihara is making miso soup. Both use the same ingredient of soybean paste, but with their own cultural twist.
Whether it be the Korean pancake like pajeon and Japanese okonomiyaki, to Korea's mugwort pomuri and sujongwa desserts, and Japan's kuzukiri, the two East Asian countries find cultural crossovers with their fundamental dishes. To celebrate the 60th anniversary of the normalization of Korea-Japan relations, the two chefs have prepared dishes that shed light not only by their uniqueness, but also by their similarities.
Over the decades, I've seen how Korean and Japanese food share common foundations. While the colors and ingredients might differ, the base is often the same. Among other countries, Japan is where Korean food finds the most resonance.
It's been a long time since Korean food entered the country, and in the swarm of Korean barbecue joints and snack bistros, Chef Yoon has worked hard on rooting Korean food in Japan to show what traditional dishes look like.
I've really worked hard on sharing Korean food in Japan. It's not about saying my food is good. It's about showing that Korean cuisine stands on its own. Though we still have some way to go, I feel like at least 60% of it has now taken root here.
And for Yoshihara, he says that it was a chance to get to know more about Korean food.
I know Japanese food very well, but Korean cuisine was new to me. Thanks to Chef Yoon, I've learned a lot while preparing these dishes. For Japanese people, it's easier to explore the flavors with more Korean restaurants opening.
With Korean food offering a wide range of dishes, it isn't only about spreading awareness of traditions. Over time, it has gone through localization efforts as well. Chef Kang takes a creative approach to his Korean restaurant in the town of Nishiogi-kubo. In a country known for its subtle flavors and minimalism, he served dishes based on seasonal ingredients and tries to differentiate them from the cliché snacks of K-Town.
I present unfamiliar Korean cuisine in a way that feels familiar to Japanese diners. The biggest similarity between the two is that since the seasons are similar, dishes can also resemble each other. A lot of people come here with an initial interest in Korean culture.
And Kang's decades-long efforts have appealed to his customers and regulars.
When thinking about Korean food, I usually imagine bulgogi or yakiniku. It's my first time here, but it felt very new and refreshing. I was glad to try this.
The spicy and strong flavored food in Shin-Okubo was all I thought of as Korean food. But here, I liked how it was different with their smaller dishes and formality.
Whether it comes from the exposure to content or the flavorful dishes, Korean cuisine is evolving within Japan's culinary landscape. Korea and Japan already share much history and many cultural elements, and cuisine is not only a testament to this cultural intersection, it also reflects both tradition and adaptation. An Sung-jin, Arirang News, Tokyo.
South Korea hosts a total of 76 national heritage sites, and one Turkish traveler has become the first foreigner to visit all of them over a span of 2 months. Our Park Hyo-bin has her story.
While most Koreans have barely scratched the surface of the country's rich heritage, one foreign traveler has gone the distance, visiting all 76 cultural treasures from Ganghwa Dolmen sites to the Musongsewan Confucian Academy in Cheongguk City. Aisha, a Korean language teacher from Turkey, began her journey in April at Suwon Hwasong Fortress and wrapped it up in just 2 months. When asked to name her favorite site, she said it was impossible to choose just one.
I think you really have to break it down into categories. If we're talking about the most photogenic place, definitely Pocheon Art Valley. But if I had to pick somewhere that felt both very Korean and somehow exotic, I'd say Naksansa Temple. And when I went to Hwae Village in Andong, I was honestly speechless.
She also said the driving force to visit all the key Korean heritage sites was the stamps. The stamp is at the heart of the Korean Heritage Passport Tour, where participants receive a special passport and collect stamps at 76 designated sites across 10 themed routes.
My husband first told me about the program, but the moment I got my very first stamp, I was like, wow, this feels amazing. There was this powerful sense of achievement that made me want to keep going. And I guess another reason was, I wanted to be the Turkish person who knows Korea best.
The Korean Heritage Passport Tour is part of the Visit Korean Heritage campaign, launched in 2020 by the Korea Heritage Agency and Korea Heritage Service. It is an immersive program designed to promote the beauty and value of Korea's national heritage. Since its official launch in May 2023, nearly 400 people have completed the full tour so far.
We deliberately included lesser-known sites outside the Seoul metropolitan area. Since last year, interest has remained strong. So far, we've received around 260,000 applications, and we expect the number to hit 400,000 by the end of this year.
As for Aisha, her Korean journey is far from over. In fact, it's only just begun.
I'll travel Korea until the day I die, seriously. I'll keep going until there's not a single step in Korea I haven't walked. Right now, I'm planning to visit all the cities I haven't been to yet, or the ones I passed through too quickly. That's my goal for the next year.
But it continues with a deep love for Korea. One step, one city, one story at a time. Park Hyo-bin, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. Russia has confirmed a major strike in Ukraine targeting a key oil refinery. At the same time, it says Ukrainian drones attacked its drone production facility. Russian Defense Ministry officials reported that a coordinated air and sea missile strike hit an oil refinery in Ukraine's Poltava region overnight on Sunday. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the strike as an assault on Ukraine's energy infrastructure and said it was conducted after the Americans asked us not to strike at Russian energy facilities. In a separate incident on the same day, Moscow reported that Ukrainian drones struck a drone factory near Yelabuga in Tatarstan, causing a fire and killing at least one person. Russian air defenses said they intercepted 6 Ukrainian drones. The details of the strike on the drone factory were confirmed by Ukraine. With a massive manhunt underway in the U.S. state of Minnesota after the shootings of Democratic state lawmakers, authorities on Sunday found the car used by the suspect, who allegedly posed as a police officer while committing the crime. Authorities say a 57-year-old suspect identified as Vance Luther Bolter, disguised in a police-style uniform and latex mask, carried out coordinated shootings at 2 locations in the Minneapolis suburbs in the early hours of Saturday morning. State Senator John Hoffman and his wife in Champlin were shot and critically wounded first, before former House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband were killed at their home in Brooklyn Park. Officers confronted the suspect at Hortman's residence, but Bolter escaped on foot. His car was recovered along with a hit list, which included the names of around 70 Democratic politicians. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz called the shooting a politically motivated assassination, and the FBI issued a $50,000 reward for information leading to the suspect's capture. In India, at least 4 people were killed and more than 30 others injured on Sunday after a bridge collapsed at a popular tourist location. According to reports, at least 20 people fell into the water when the bridge over the Indriani River in Kundamela, Pune, collapsed due to heavy monsoon rain. Search and rescue efforts are ongoing for those who remain unaccounted for. Despite being flagged as structurally unsound, enforcement lapses allowed visitors as well as bicycles to continue using the footbridge. Authorities warn the death toll could rise as rescue operations continue. Bolivia's city of La Paz celebrated its annual Grand Poder, or the Great Power Festival, over the weekend, blending traditional Catholic devotion with indigenous Andean culture. The streets were filled with vibrant dances, prayers, and music dedicated to a 17th century painting of Jesus Christ. While the Day of the Great Power is typically exuberant, the event was more subdued this year, with a moment of silence for 6 people killed in clashes between protesters and police following the disqualification of a former president. Choi Ji-hee, Arirang News.
For a few days, heavy rain has been falling across the country, mainly on the south and Jeju Island. Even though most of the rain had already stopped earlier this afternoon, rain keeps falling in parts of Gangwon-do province until tonight. Showers are forecast for the inland areas tomorrow. There will be at least 5 millimeters to as much as 30 millimeters in Gangwon-do province and the southern regions. Yesterday, the first heat wave warning was issued in the Seoul metropolitan area this year. For the time being, daytime temperatures will rise to around 30 degrees Celsius in inland areas. Please take care not to get any heat-related illnesses in this hot weather. Tomorrow morning will start warm at around 19 to 23 degrees all over the country. Highs will move up to 30 degrees in Seoul, 31 degrees in Gwangju, Daegu, and Gyeongju. Starting with the central parts of the country on Thursday night, it will rain nationwide on Friday and Saturday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. As always, thank you for watching.